Monica's mittens, the pattern. You should always pre-read your pattern ahead of time. Even if you don't always understand everything that's going on, it's good just to skim it over and just to have a look at it from beginning to end, to make sure you have everything that's needed, and make sure you understand the flow of the project. We'll do that right now. Monica's mittens, it starts with the supplies. If you've never knit with double pointed needles, you're going to be doing it in this project, and that's what you'll need, and that's what they look like. 3 stitch markers. You can buy these at any craft store. They are just little plastic rings that get inserted over the end of a needle in between 2 stitches to mark where your work is at that particular time. So you'll need 3 of those. You need a stitch holder, which this is a little, there's many kinds. This is a little cable holder. That's the type I use. The stitches slide on, you seal it up, they're protected and safe. You don't work on them, but you work on the rest of the mitten. This is for the thumb. You will need a tapestry needle for weaving in the ends. You do need a row counter to help you when you are doing the decreasing on either the thumb or on the actual mitten hand. The yarn that I used was the Lions brand. This is what's left. Woolies Tonal. That's the type of yarn I used. Don't think there's anything to say particularly on that. It's a number 5. If you don't like this, look for any, in terms of substituting a yarn, look for a yarn that's a number 5. And there is the gauge that it took me to knit that. So there's 18 stitches and 24 rows in 4 inches. You should be doing your tension swatch to make sure you have pretty close to that. Abbreviations of M1L, M1R, M1 and K2 together. Those, if you don't know how to make one left to right, I do have a video on how to do that. And then the instructions are there, broken out into different sections. Just a basic intro, cuff, mitten, thumb gusset, decrease mitten hand, thumb, decrease thumb, and weaving in the ends at the end. Now in the instructions, you'll notice these are just for an average woman's hand. Now they also include a shorter version, which it's in brackets in the pattern. You knit the mitten the same. I just want to explain what that shorter version is. So when I prefer mittens that are longer, so that when my jacket sleeve, maybe I'm doing something and my jacket sleeve doesn't happen to be sitting at the bottom of my wrist, I don't get cold and snow on it. So I like a longer mitten, but I don't want it to be a longer cuff. I find a 3-inch cuff plenty. I just want a longer mitten, meaning from the base of the thumb to the top of the cuff. I just want a longer mitten. And so that is the main instructions that I have included in that mitten. My sister wants a shorter mitten. She doesn't want a shorter cuff. She still wants a 3-inch cuff. She still wants the mitten to fit her hand, but she doesn't want that extra length. So where it's shorter is between the bottom of the thumb and the top of the cuff. In my pattern, the main pattern that's not in brackets, this part is 1.5 inches. In her mitten, she likes it shorter, so the distance between the thumb and the bottom of the thumb and the top of the cuff is actually, it's only 1/2 inch, which makes for a shorter mitt. This is her mitt. She also didn't want this yarn. I don't recommend this for a beginner. It's a kind of like a boucle, and so you cannot see what you are doing, and ripping mistakes is a nightmare. But I just wanted to show you this. So the bottom of her thumb is there and the top of her cuff is there, so that distance is shorter, so it makes for a shorter mitt. When you put it on, it's shorter. It sits much closer to your wrist, whereas my mitts that I like, because I'm going to have to tuck that little end in, it popped out. It sits further up my arm, and I don't want a longer cuff. I don't want all ribbing. That's another way of doing it. I just want a longer mitt. So that's the difference that's in the instructions on the pattern of Monica's mitts. Happy knitting.